Hello folks, hope you're doing well. Welcome back to another One Piece review. This time we're covering manga chapter 1180. Now with the shadow literally dropped and IMU finally revealed Saint Nerona IMU. Oda wasted no time in establishing IMU as a threat, a major threat. We suspect that IMU is going to be the final villain, if not a candidate for the final villain of the series. So this was a good chapter for Oda to re-establish IMU as that threat, as a huge force for Luffy to overcome. There was a couple of instances where Oda did that very well. Other than that, this was as straightforward as you can get. This really, to me, this felt like Oda trying to get to the ending with the confrontation, but I'll get to that. I do have to talk about, speaking of Elbaph, let's talk about the new ending and opening 29 and ending 23. And I found it very surprising that they didn't start off with a new opening and ending. Instead, we got it in the second initial episode of the quote-unquote Elbaph arc. So One Piece opening 29 is performed by the band, I believe it's pronounced Aina, as it's A-I-N-A. The song is Luminous, which I like the visuals of the arc. I was surprised they didn't even include any more spoilers, to be fair, but then again, they're doing it in a seasonal format, so I guess I shouldn't be too surprised. Though I will say, I expected them to reveal the Holy Knights. I expected them to reveal, to some extent, the Harley Mural, which they did. Instantly surprised they did reveal the reunion, quote unquote. I guess that was going too far. Like, oh, you got no problem spoiling the new design of Robin, but we can't show the reunion just yet. The ending is performed by Jisoku 36 Kilometers. The song itself is Sono Mirai, which translates to That Future. And in my opinion, I thought the ending was actually better than the opening. Not to say the opening was bad, although I do prefer the previous opening that we got over this new opening. Not to say the opening was bad, I just prefer the previous opening, but I thought the ending was actually better than the Elbaph opening, honestly. And one of the reasons I feel that way is obviously because of the visuals, and they decided to focus on the activities of the Straw Hats, which I feel like is kind of like a breath of fresh air, because we don't usually get to see that when it comes to like these endings. That's talking about the anime. We also got some news when it comes to live action season 3 confirmed for 2027, so it's not a rumor anymore. Like, I think it was I think I stated this when I covered the live action season 2 and my thoughts about that. I said it's possible we'll get it in 2027. I think you can kind of predicted that anyway with what we got at Jump Festa and Oda saying season 3 is in the works currently. So really, like, when else were they going to drop this? Also, if you read between the lines with the contents of season 2 and the mention of Blackbeard's influence, there's no real concrete evidence as to how many seasons we're going to get. There's rumors now that they want to get to 10 seasons. Again, those are just rumors. We don't know. Unless it comes from Netflix themselves or Oda, we can't really confirm anything. And I said this when I covered this. I said it's going to possibly due to how well One Piece succeeds on Netflix. And it really depends on Oda, how far he wants to push this. But you can read between the lines, like I said, with the mentioning of Blackbeard's influence is probably going to go beyond season 3. So that, at least we know that for sure, considering we know season 3 is going to focus on the Alabasta arc. Speaking of One Piece on Netflix, we actually got some news on Whole Cake Island, and it's not going to be as cut and dry as like adding the whole arc to Netflix. No, apparently they're going to be releasing in batches, so it's going to be from episode 823 to 836, but they're going to release it in batches, which is kind of different. That's going to drop on May 1st. Now, I find it very funny, not to get sidetracked or anything, but I find it very funny how they got no problem revealing a date to drop the Whole Cake Island arc, at least the first part of it, yet they can't really reveal anything about when episode 2 for JoJo's Steel Ball Run is going to drop. Like, we still got no information on when episode 2 is going to drop, if it's going to drop at all this year. Like, episode 1's dropped, but no problem announcing dates for like when it comes to One Piece content. But when it comes to JoJo's Steel Ball Run, oh no, we can't reveal anything. But now, I don't know if that's a contractual type of deal. Again, I'm not brokenhearted with getting episode by episode, because I feel that's a lost art, honestly, instead of like getting all the episodes bundled up and catalogued together, which is why I'm kind of surprised they're actually doing like the whole Kick Island arc in bundles. But yeah, that's going to be dropping May 1st. So let's get into the cover page. And honestly, this is actually one of the underrated cover pages in my opinion, because we've got Vegapunk, Chopper, and Nami. Nami bringing out Zeus, Vegapunk making Zeus rain candy, which Chopper's living his best life right now. What I find very cute is, like, if you notice, Nami's already grabbed a piece of the candy and it's already munching on it. So that was kind of sweet and innocent when it comes to like this cover request. But what wasn't sweet, at least for those on Elbaph, was the beginning, how this chapter started with Emu, and we've actually got a full body shot of Emu close up. So it wasn't at a distance. And I didn't really notice like the clouds, dark clouds resembling a halo, resembled kind of more like a god, like in the background. They got Emu's eyes on it, so I thought that was a great touch by Oda. You got, like I said, you got Emu's full body shot, Saint Nerona Emu in the flesh, literally. So I guess Oda dropped that coughing up blood real quick, because that didn't play a factor into this chapter at all. So I guess Oda's trying to introduce a weakness, but that's not going to be a vocal point just yet. So, and if you notice his body, Emu's body's got like dots, spots all around it. So I don't know if that's part of the illness or if that's why he's coughing up blood. I don't know. You got like the caption of Oda narrating like the king of the world has come to Elbaph. But then you got Emu saying he's the king of this country. Dori and Brogy like, oh, who the heck are you? Like, this country doesn't have a king. But then we get the homies in the background, or at least the dark houses in the background, influenced by Emu's abilities. You got the song, the beat in the background for Emu, which I think is a great contrast considering what we got from Luffy when he goes into Gear 5th. So that makes sense. Then we get a panel of Emu's first target, because we see Saint Summers yelling out for the Great One. Then out of nowhere, Emu's speed blitz is right up, fingers. Or to be fair, it's her index finger and thumb is so focused on Emu that she doesn't even realize it until she notices she's dropped Summers. And that was what Emu was trying to do, free Saint Summers. Well, at the same time, you got Saint Summers like, what the hell are you doing, Saint Summers? Get it together. So he reversed this situation real quick. Zoro notices this and reacts. Saint Summers finally catches his metal heart. So, and keep in mind, his body's fully restored at this point. Now, Zoro's the first one to step up, like I mentioned, but he doesn't attack just yet. In comes Haradin, and Stanson's trying to warn Haradin not to attack. Don't attack Emu, because apparently he knew what was coming. Either that, or he's like really worried about Haradin. Haradin comes in, ignores it. Stanson, it kind of looks like what we got with Jinbei and Brook earlier in the arc involving Gunko, but no, it's clear what was happening here once you read between the lines. So Stanson kicks Haradin to protect him, but that costs Stanson big time, because in comes Emu, slices off that leg that Stanson used to kick Haradin out the way, because that would have been Haradin if not. So then after this, that's when Zoro finally locks in. He uses 3-sword style Poketori Onigiri. Emu blocks it with his arrow. He blocks it with his arrow tail. There's obviously a hockey clash because you got the sparks in the background. While this is going on, Emu, by the way, as he's blocking Zoro's attack, he's not even looking at Zoro, but he's casually charging up a Omen attack, and he uses that on Zoro, sends Zoro flying, which shocks the hell out of Chopper. Like, wow, Zoro's attack didn't do squat. Emu, he didn't even flinch. In comes Haradin to attack. This time, Haradin pays for it because Emu launches another Omen attack. Only this one, if you noticed, his attack actually has a face on it, similar to what we got with the houses or the homies of Emu. So I thought it was kind of neat. Oda gave us an in-depth look to how Emu's attacks work, or at least how they look. But Haradin got a close and personal look at how these attacks work, because they got nailed and all you see is an explosion. None of them are dead, by the way, so I mean, it could have got a lot worse for them. But this Emu uses, speaking of which, Omen on Saint Summers to apparently give him a boost, because like I said before, his body was already fully regenerated, so it looked like he gave him a boost. And then Emu's like, yo, Saint Summers, there's no time to waste, get a move on. And they both dip, they both dart out of there. Saint Summers is gone, but Emu's heading elsewhere. So is Saint Summers gone from Elbaph, or is he heading elsewhere? Meanwhile, you got Chopper telling Zoro, get everybody in this building that's injured and the kids are passed out because they're in danger right now. The rest of Elbaph gets warned about IMU because they're warned like, hey, someone else has pulled up, more dangerous than the Holy Knights. Stay alert. Then you see a shot of IMU flying, and it looks like he's heading towards Gunko's location, and uses the staff or the weapon of his to summon OMEN and launch that at the ice cube that apparently only Rataskir could carve up until now. So much for that feat. So this Loki was another feat that Oda highlighted in this chapter that may go under the radar. But rather than see what happened with Gunko, IMU just flies off. Now, to be fair, Gunko's body doesn't need reforming. It was frozen solid. So, but apparently we cut to Scarpa, who notices this, and this was really to hype up IMU. Scarpa's like, I've never felt a hockey like this, not even on God Valley. I'll dive into this more by the end. Then we go to War's school where Loki and Luffy are trying to munch on food to like replenish their energy, but you notice all the food's now burning up. It's boiling hot because obviously it was frozen previously, and to make it more consumable for Luffy, I guess they set it on fire to make so, but it's all burning. But you see Loki is like chowing down. Luffy's having trouble, but again, this is done for a reason. Meanwhile, you got Nami catching up with Jinbei and Frankie. Usopp and Brook are still out of it. And if I were them, I would get them as far away from this area as possible, especially with how this chapter ends. But either way, Nami's like, what's going on here? Jinbei's like, I don't know, but this hockey is terrifying. And this is Jinbei saying this. They're with the Holy Knights. Their target is more likely going to be... And before that goes any further, IMU'S launched an Omen attack on St. Killingham while Sanji's there. That means St. Killingham is going to make a full recovery too, as well as St. Summers. And like I said, Gunko should already be technically fine since she was only frozen solid. So Jinbei warns Sanji, watch out, this guy's dangerous. Sanji immediately ignites. Now, because it's the manga, obviously, it's difficult to know if he's using Ifrit Jamba or Diablo Jamba. Doesn't matter because it does no damage, no effect. But what I did notice is IMU did block it with his kick, but whatever Sanji tried to do did not work because IMU counters and lands an attack on Sanji, which causes an explosion, and you notice it's bad because Nami is like, Sanji-kun. So that was a feat for IMU, like tanking attacks from Zoro and now Sanji doing absolutely nothing. Now, it did remind me of the whole scene with Doflamingo, but at least Doflamingo actually responded to Sanji. Actually felt that actually packed some punch. Here, IMU did say a word. He didn't even acknowledge or flinch from Sanji's attack, so this is not good. Then immediately following that explosion, Loki finally pulls up on IMU, like, here I am, bitch. Gotta say, that panel was beastly as hell as IMU notices. Loki like, hey, what business do you have on Elbaph? Then IMU responds, 14 years ago, Harold was killed here. I've come to find the one responsible. He was my servant. And Loki gets triggered because he's like, no, that's my father. Then we get this epic panel of Loki, and obviously with the shading, we got Loki towering over IMU. So that's how the chapter ends, with IMU and Loki about to throw down with a stare down here. Now, like I said at the beginning, this was Oda really getting this to this scene, although Oda did sprinkle in some feats for IMU to like establish IMU as a force, a threat. The first of which is tanking attacks from two of the monster trio, which was probably by far and away the biggest feats of the entire chapter. Zoro and Sanji couldn't do anything to IMU, so that's a problem. So I guess both fan bases of Zoro and Sanji are going to have to take the L here because neither one of those two stand the chance right now. And like I said in my last review, the only one that may stand the chance in this scene, at least right now, and even then, it's like, I don't like his chances, is probably Loki. But with Luffy out of the equation, and this is done by design for the second chapter in a row, that Luffy's struggling to eat so he can't replenish. This is done by design. So until we get Luffy into the scene, I don't like Loki's chances. As badass as he might be, like, no. The other feat was, like I said, freeing Gunko from the ice that apparently only Rataskir could, like, cut through until IMU pulled up. So that's another feat. Another thing to hype up IMU is what Scarpa said, and this is why I think Loki doesn't stand much of a chance unless Luffy finds a way to recoup just in time. then I don't really see this going in Loki's favor because of Scupper saying that I've never sensed a hockey like this. Keep in mind, this is a member of Roger's crew saying this, so he's never sensed a hockey like this, not even on God Valley. On God Valley, mind you, that had Zebek leading the Rocks Pirates, Garp, his captain, his censor, Roger. But despite how broken they may be, nothing compares to this state, this form of Emu. Also to keep in mind, Emu defeated Joy Boy back in the day. So if anybody's think that Luffy by himself is going to turn the tide of this, like, no. I said this before, it just depends if Oda has the balls to actually have Luffy losing Gear 5th by himself. I can see like a team up, but I can't see a 1v1 just yet. We'll have to wait and see. What I like about this scenario is, despite how rushed for time that Oda is in trying to wrap up Elbaph, he sort of kind of made this unpredictable, because this is only going one of two ways. Either somebody, like I mentioned on Elbaph, is getting captured or dying, or somehow they're going to have to find a way to like subdue Emu or find a way to get him to retreat, which we don't really know what's going on with St. Killingham and St. Summers. St. Summers dipped. We don't know where he's heading. Gunko got free from the eyes, and St. Killingham got nailed with an Omen attack from Emu, so we don't know what's going to happen with that. Something major is going to happen here, and I don't see it going in Elbaph's favour. I'm shocked that Jarul, Dory and Brogy weren't the first of Emu's casualties here, but that may still happen, because I don't see them leaving Loki to fight this alone, especially now. I find it very interesting for the second chapter in a row when Emu is actually on Elbaph. We don't get to see Robin at all. And there's a lot of people throwing the connection out there. I've said this multiple times, but with Sol and Robin looking for focusing on the books of O'Hara disappearing, that has to play a role here. If Gunko has been broken free by Emu's attack, Gunko could still be under the influence of Emu, and if Gunko got a power boost like St. Summers and St. Killingham just got, that could be some broken stuff as well, and that could cause even more problems for Elbaph. But we'll have to wait and see where that goes. Like I said, this was very straightforward to the point. I don't see this going in Loki's favour, though I am looking forward to seeing this. But those are my thoughts. Please tell me in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, you guys know what to do with that thumbs up. I appreciate that. I appreciate you guys' support when it comes to these One Piece reviews. Catch you later, guys. Bye.